Live here.
Live!
But we don't have to necessarily know what that means.
What's the someday of blank?
I don't
there's
know
a
that we
reason
want to-
this story happens now.
Ladies and gentlemen, the movie writes itself. Ooh.
I'm still streaming. How do I stop streaming? No! That's going to make me laugh every time.
So that was our new intro. What do you think, guys? Leave your comments for us. Like it, obviously.
Ben spent hours. Ben was up until the wee hours of the morning last night making that.
I'll tell you, there's a lot of footage to go through in order to make
absolutely, I know there is. Yeah,
I don't envy the job of editors.
Indeed.
But we treasure them because they make our movies look good.
This is
hopefully.
true. This is true. Never would be without them.
So, good morning.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday. We
Yes.
are Tuesday, September 20th, 2022. We are now 7 days, our 7th day of live streaming this process of writing a film from scratch. And I've got to say, I've been really enjoying it.
It's fun. It's very fun. I mean, writing is fun, right?
It can be.
It can be. But yeah, no, this has been really, really great. And for everyone else,
I've got a thing. Just there we go. I'm just gonna do that. There we go. That's better. Less distracting.
All right. There's, in case everyone was wondering, Jake had a thing.
Some gentle sunlight dappling on me, but I was worried it was going to be distracting.
I can't even remember what I was saying.
Sorry. Day 7. Writing can be fun. And
come to our YouTube page and subscribe, please, so that we can get our.
Remember that when you subscribe, we can get a vanity link. Which sounds vain, but really it just means that we can just go youtube.com/Lustig Thornton, and it will let us be able to share this channel much easier with other people. And thank you for everybody who has been engaging. We've been talking about a little bit on Twitter. We've been talking about it in various Facebook groups. So thank you so much for coming and joining us. That means a lot to us. And we hope that this is beneficial to you. I'm certainly finding it very beneficial. And again, I probably mentioned this yesterday, but doing it live or at some point doing it live just means that we are focused on what we're doing. So that's, I think, is probably the biggest takeaway for me is that when we're focused, we actually get through things really, really fast and really well. So
cool. So speaking of, let's get to it. So
let's get to it.
Let's do it. Yesterday we really did great about going through some Act 1 structural things. We'll definitely get back to our structuring, which is going to help us continue build out our characters. But before we get to structuring, Jake, why don't you tell us about what you watched last night, and perhaps in a just kind of a small recap.
Totally. So I watched the film Legion last night. For those of you who don't know it, it's a 2010 film starring Paul Bettany. And I didn't remember this. It's Adrienne Palicki in like one of her, she's like quite young in it. It's like early 20s. And we really like her. We've seen her in a bunch of things. We're like, oh yeah, we'd like to cast her in something someday. And anyway, the concept is, and it lives in similar spaces. It's really interesting. So it's pretty much entirely set in a diner in the middle of nowhere, where she works as a waitress, and she is pregnant. And you basically learn that she's pregnant with essentially Christ. She gives birth to this child on Christmas Day.
The Messiah. Okay.
The Messiah, someone who is going to save mankind and lead them to a better future. However, angels have been sent to kill her. Yes, angels, because God is basically done with mankind. And even though he's aware that this child is coming, is like, no, just going to go and destroy them all. And it's going to be like another flood. It's going to be and although you don't experience it on screen, you learn that there have been big attacks going on places throughout the United States and throughout the world. I think they explored that a little bit in the TV show that followed, which I never saw, but I heard interesting things about. Anyway, in Terminator Parallels, and I was laughing because I was like, oh, wow, this really is right. You know,
Yeah.
Paul Bettany arrives in a back street in Los Angeles. Shaboom! Right there.
Okay.
And the first thing he does is, you know, he cuts off his wings and then goes to a store and gets a bunch of guns. Never fully leads you to why he knows that's the case, but there's guns in this store. And then the police come and there's a bit of an altercation. And then one of the police gets possessed in this cool visual by what you think might be a demon at the start because it's got sharp teeth and black eyes. And you're like, oh, that's a really freaky image. And but later on you learn is actually an angel, and it's angelic possession rather than demonic possession.
Oh, well,
then there's I'm not sure if you remember this, I think it was in the trailer for it, where there's this old woman in the diner and she goes all creepy.
Yeah.
Bang!
One of the more
memorable moments. Someone. Yeah, well, that's actually an angel. So they were playing with the concept of
evil angels.
But who are actually working for God. So again, it's the aspect of, you know, and ultimately Paul Bettany's character has gone against God's wishes by wanting to go and save and protect this child.
Okay.
So there are absolutely some parallels of what is good, what is evil, angels, although not demons, they do demonic. Yeah. I mean, Doug Jones plays this. I love Doug Jones. Plays this ice cream delivery guy.
Yes, I remember that from the trailer. Yes,
scallops across. Anyway, it's not. I would say it's not a brilliant movie, but there's a lot of stuff that I like in it visually. There was a lot of, interestingly enough, a lot of talking and not a lot of action. It's very interesting to observe that a lot of what's going on are the characters talking about the difficulties in their lives and what's going on and how they can become better people, interspersed with these moments of action. But I mean, literally, I was like 45, like an hour in, going, when's the next big action moment going to happen? And you do have these moments that are big and exciting. You have the moment with the weird, creepy
smaller movie. I don't think it had a very big budget.
I don't think it had a big budget. I want to say it's probably, and I would be intrigued. Maybe we'll Google it in a moment and find out. Yeah. But it wasn't an enormous budget movie. But it did well with it, I think, because it was this single location. I think it worked well enough. But point being, wasn't really watching it for story elements, although just observing what story elements are there. Again, as we mentioned a minute ago, angels, what side are they on? What does it mean to be good? What does it mean to be bad? But I think tonally, and I think this is going to be something that we're going to experience as well when we watch some of these other movies. Naturally, when you deal with the elements of heaven and hell and demons, you are in horror movie territory. Scary images territory. You know, when creepy grandma appears and her teeth go sharp and the eyes go black and she literally bites the neck out of this guy and then fucking walks on the ceiling exorcist style.
Yeah, it's like exorcist style.
You know, tries to run at the guy. You know, it's freaky. It's a horror movie moment. So I'm just reminded that so often, again, even in things like Constantine, there's images in Constantine.
There's a horror element.
Real horror.
Don't do that. What if we say, rather than going horror, we go more Hellboy?
And that, I think, is interesting. Yeah. And so I guess that's kind of the conversation is, what do we do? What do we do with it?
Because I haven't been thinking of this as a horror movie at all. I've been thinking of it as an action movie. I've been thinking more Matrix. You know, with the demons being more Smith and his you know, whatever the
agents.
Agents, yes. That's kind of been the tone in my mind.
But it was interesting yesterday because even when we were talking about when our demon character looks in the mirror, what does she see and what does that look like? You know, because there's the Hellboy version, which is a bit kind of cartoony and comic book.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't go
that. You know, and again, I love Hellboy.
Me too. I love the. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the newest one, but the El Toro ones I loved.
Absolutely.
I wonder though, like, I've been thinking about The Devil's Advocate. Do you remember that movie with Keanu Reeves?
Yeah.
And I remember this really creepy image of the the friend's wife
Yeah.
when she turned into like part demon at one point,
Yeah.
and it was like in a flash, but it wasn't like, I wouldn't call that movie a horror movie,
No.
but it
Sure.
was demonic.
Yes.
And so I think there's a way to do something cool visually that isn't too horror, but also like, the tone is going to be set not necessarily just by the visuals. It's going to be set by
Of course.
what we do
What's
in the set pieces,
yes,
how they
what's happening.
behave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, when grandma comes in, you're like, there's something off about this woman. And then she starts behaving, and then she's you're like, worst nightmare, creepy grandma. my childhood nightmares come true.
Yeah, yeah. Totally.
But anyway, so I think again, just being aware of certain story, but again, I don't think people are going, oh, that's just like Legion. But again, it's going to play. It plays in a similar space, and I think again, it's like just honing down on what those visuals are going to be and in what way they contribute to it. But again, like you said, I don't think it's a horror movie either. And it's that thing, isn't it? Like we were talking the other day about Terminator. I was like, it's kind of a horror movie. Like, no, it's really a thriller, and I think that's right.
Mm-hmm.
And there's moments where you're absolutely scared. You're like, oh fuck, when Arnie carves his eye out, like, oh fuck,
There's definitely slasher movie elements in Terminator for sure. It's like this unstoppable force that's just going to kill you. I mean, very much feels like a slasher movie. But yeah, I mean, it's not. I wouldn't say Terminator is scary.
No.
And
yet there's moments where I get scared. I mean, that we were talking about the other day.
Tension,
Totally. When it's in Act 3 when the Terminator is like coming down the hallway and they're trying to close the door and he's like coming and you're like, oh, they're going to close the door in time. It could absolutely be Michael Myers or Freddy Krueger on the other side of that door in that moment.
Yes.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, so again, I'm glad I watched it. It was good to reconnect with even just the kind of visual nature of it, and see what inspires something else. So there you go.
Cool, great, awesome. Well, I have not watched Constantine yet, but I will this week. So we can talk about it one of these days this week. I think so. Let's talk about the next step in our macro structure, and we can go back and revisit Act 1 in a minute, and we can open up our page. But before we do that, we're about to enter Act 2.
Right.
We left off basically saying that the transition into the extraordinary world for our hero Sam is the set piece whereby the demon shows up, tries to kidnap her, and the other demons show up trying to rescue her, and we don't actually know who's good or bad, and she doesn't know who's good or bad, and I think that's going to be really fun to play with. And ultimately, though, as we then break out of that, our demon is going to be successful.
Yeah.
They're probably going to have to kidnap Sam in a way that is relatively not the way you want to start your relationship with someone that you're going to end up being friends with.
Yeah.
But there's a way at some point now in our next sequence, in our next kind of 15 minutes or so, where they're going to have to agree to keep going on this together.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah.
And it's interesting. So I just watched The Old Man, which I loved and highly recommend. And I'm going to give a spoiler. I hate spoilers, but it's been out long enough. If you haven't watched it, sorry. No, Jake, you need the spoiler. Everyone else, just, pause your volume or lower your volume for just a second. But in The Old Man, he's forced to kidnap this woman who he has a relationship with, doesn't want to hurt, but at the same time, like, she's not going to go with him. He knows her life is in danger. He knows the people coming are worse than him. And so he throws her in the back of the car. And there is a version of this too. Like, then, the way that they get around it is he pulls into like this clearing in the woods whereby he knows that it's safe. He lets her out of the trunk and he says, here's your chance, but here's the truth of what's going on. And they semi-agree to continue on this journey together based on the information presented. In Terminator, it's pretty clear that Arnold is a worse choice than Reese. So she's going with Reese.
Yeah.
She doesn't understand what's going on. She doesn't necessarily trust Reese, but at the same time, the worse option is back there.
Mm-hmm.
In this, it's a little tricky because
I hear that. Yeah.
How do we know? Well, okay, I'm going to rewind. Does our demon know at this point that the end goal for the Celestials is to kill her?
That's what I wrote down on my pad.
Right.
So, and it comes down to I wrote down demon desire line. God has plans for her. So when the angel comes to Charlize Theron and says, we want you to go and get Samantha Connor and bring her here, she says, why? And all that Angel Gabriel says is God has plans for her. She does, and we were talking about...
And this is the bargain.
Say again?
And basically, so this is the bargain we're willing to make.
Yes.
Okay.
So, because I think that helps.
Because that's a twist.
And it helps us, yes, and then it gives us that twist.
And it also gives us a clear definition of who we think is good and who we think is bad.
Yes.
So at the beginning, even though Sam doesn't know who's good or bad, we do, at least from the perspective of the fact that our demon is working for the good guys.
Completely.
Yes.
Completely. Yes. So then that gives us, new information gets revealed later on. Oh, holy shit, you're the Antichrist. I don't go knowing that you're the Antichrist at the end of Act 1. We don't know that either. That then is revealed, and then even more, and actually they're trying to kill you, and you're bringing me there. Oh no, holy shit.
Okay, cool. I mean, I think that's definitely the cleanest path forward. I'll say that the one thing that it loses for me, but I don't really know the solution. The one thing that it loses for me is kind of the interesting nature of our demon being, quote, the person, the bad guy in this scene, and the other demons being, quote, the good guys to the extent of the audience's perspective. But I think we lose that because I think it's messy, and I think that it would be hard to understand.
And that's and I agree.
But what's interesting is you can still have the moment whereby Sam doesn't trust anyone because our demon, we've talked about this a little bit, like if you can see her demonic form, let's say in a mirror, Sam could catch a glimpse of it.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it's like, holy fuck. And then our demon does have to knock her out and throw her in the back of the car.
So that's what I mean, and also, like, as we were talking yesterday, this this end Act 1 set piece into Act 2. The things that are coming after Sam, these demons who are, although we don't know it, actually trying to save her life because she, is on the side of, she's the Antichrist.
They're trying to capture her.
They're trying to capture her. Exactly right.
They would love to kill the demon who left their ranks.
Absolutely right. But like, can Sam see, just as they're killed, something happens, and she sees an element of like, oh, what the fuck are those? In the same way as Sarah Connor sees Arnie. Arnie gets shot, and there's no way that he would have survived that. And what happens? He gets the fuck up, and she's like, what the fuck is going on?
I think Sam should witness a bunch of this fight.
Yes.
And then, but not understand why, if I've also seen that our demon is also one of them.
I don't think she should see that in this fight. I think that can happen as a complication further.
Then why wouldn't she just go with her automatically?
I mean, here's the thing. Sarah Connor goes with Reese because, as you said, in that moment, she presents the best option.
But I think there's something more interesting that we can do that isn't just that. That's what I'm saying. I think that there's a way to not just do come with me if you want to live, and so I go.
Yeah.
I think it's come with me if you want to live. Why the fuck would I go with you? You're a demon. And then it's like, fuck. And it gives a complication to their relationship instead of a clear,
maybe.
I'm helping you and I'm the victim. Because I think that there is something that is, I think there's a way that we can play out that very similar sequence in a new and interesting with a new and interesting dynamic, because I think our demon isn't Kyle Reese. She's not she's not this.
Well, she's
nice
the Terminator, as we said, she's Arnie in Terminator 2.
Yeah, but I think she's probably got a lot more attitude. She's still a demon. I think she's not exactly going to just like the fact that like this girl is fighting with her at all to go with her is probably fucking annoying. And like, I think there's a really great kind of, we're going on a journey together. I want to see a relationship between these two characters that's more complicated.
With the knowledge that I know what you are.
Yes. And that's what helps with that complicated relationship.
I hear that. And it's like, so, how old are you? 6,423 years old. What? I bet you've seen some shit. Oh yeah, honey. Like whatever that is, you can have.
Yeah, but I think like even like that kind of casual conversation I think that's an evolution of their relationship. But I think we get to, start off our act 2 with a conflict-based relationship. It adds drama to all of those.
Totally. And again, it comes.
You have taken me hostage, and is from Sam's point of view, and from Demon's point of view is, I just saved your fucking life.
Yeah, those things back there, you don't want to know what they're capable of. Have you seen Hellraiser? It's like that. Speaking of which, the new trailer for that drops today, and I haven't seen it yet, and I'm excited.
Yes.
And then she comes to again, Sarah Connor, Carl Reese style, the Duke and Jack in Midnight Run. They start to develop a camaraderie together.
Yes, over the course of all of Act 2, so that by the end of Act 2, when shit hits the fan and we think we're going to lose, and the twist is revealed that they have a bond that is beyond what they were.
Absolutely.
This really, it's interesting because while both of their journeys clearly start in Act 1 and end, with their final moments in Act 3, their joint journey together as a unit is really all of Act 2. I mean, that is the evolution of their friendship, going from an antagonistic relationship of you kidnapped me, and the other side of I just tried to save your life and you almost ruined my chance of getting what I want. And now we have to work together to both get what I want and get what you want. And then the discoveries that they make along the way that will make that even more complicated.
Right.
This bond.
I was thinking, just as we were just talking that through, and again, this is just kind of pulling out and going, what's the structural nature of this? When does that twist happen? Because part of me goes, that should be end Act 2. I've gotten you to a certain place, then only to discover, oh no, I've now grown to really like you. I'm now on your side. You're on my side. Then only to reveal that the person who's brought me here and that the job I've been given to do ends in this person's death. And in that moment is Sam then captured by the enemy and they start to do the set, whatever it is. Like, that feels like that's one version of it, or it's the midpoint.
Yeah, and that's what I was just thinking, which was because one of the things we've talked about so far is that we want to continually escalate the obstacles that are presented, and at some point even the Celestials are coming after them because the demon has deviated from their quest, and now both the angels and the demons want Sam. That doesn't work if we hold that off until the end of Act 2.
That's
that entire storyline would have to go. There just wouldn't be time for it.
Yeah.
You might have a moment of it. You might have one scene of it where she has to
But
fight
also,
off
yes.
Celestials.
But then also,
But-
I will add. Then at that point, the idea of we're trying to get you from this place to this place changes too, because once they learn that, they're not going to be doing that anymore.
Yeah, no. Then it's about. Well, so here's I would say the cool thing about that, right? We talked about how quickly, number one, it is to travel today versus in olden days. And if we are going to go to, let's say, Israel, right?
Mm-hmm.
We could get to Israel in 2.1 and then find out through whatever means we decide we want to find out that she has now brought her to Israel only to ultimately have her be sacrificed at this holy site on, Mount wherever. And that the turn then becomes, fuck, we are in a strange environment where it isn't necessarily easy to hide. The Celestials are coming after us. The demons are coming after us. There's another potential party that is coming after us. And ultimately, the darkest moment is Sam is captured and brought to said site whereby the sacrifice is going to be.
I mean, I think either way, that's what's going to happen there.
I think, look, unless we can think of a really great counter to that traditional structure, and we've done this in other movies before, I think that this story naturally lends to the Act 3 moment being our hero is in a position where it feels like she's going to die and there's no way to stop.
Completely.
And
absolutely.
That in this story would be the people who want her dead being the Celestials, and that's been the big twist that happens in the middle of the movie. The Celestials have got her. They're the ones who are going to take her soul and stop the Antichrist from coming. And you know what's kind of interesting about that? This could be fun. Okay. I'm just going to toss an idea.
Yeah.
What if we establish in this the opening set piece, right? Where we're talking about her working with the demons still. Charlize is still working with her demons. What if there's a demon buddy who Charlize basically was, oh no, actually we went away from that. Now the set piece, sorry.
It doesn't matter. It's all still fluid.
The point is, the idea is, if there is a demon who was friends with Charlize back before she rejected demon culture, does Charlize go to the demons for help in 2.2? Knowing that she's going to ultimately make essentially the deal a counter deal, which would be, if you help me save her life, I will help you save her life also. We can work together, but here's the deal. You cannot make her the Antichrist unless give her the opportunity to prove that she has free will. Like, do they make a bargain whereby the demons say, if she goes down the dark path on her own, we get her. Right. If she chooses to follow the path of normal, of light, then we'll leave her alone. Yeah, and that's the bargain we're willing to make, potentially because they believe she's going to end up following the dark path, and we'll get our Antichrist. Versus if the angels stop it, then we'll never get it.
Perhaps, yeah. Although I do. There is just something nice about. There are X amount groups of after us. We're not on anyone's side. True. We're not.
I'm just wondering who our demons ally would be in Act 3. Are they just going in half cocked?
I mean, who is Sarah Connor and Carl Reese's ally?
But there's only one person going up against them. That is the Terminator is.
In Midnight Run, there's no one trying to help them. There is no one trying to help the Duke. And there's no one trying to help Jack. When it all starts to go wrong, you've still got all these multiple groups. Then
sure. Does the Duke get captured by the bad guys in Midnight Run?
He does.
And so Jack by himself has to go and save him all alone?
Yes.
Okay.
And he does. And it works great.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
So there is a way to do it. So I wouldn't, it's
it feels at the moment like it's a really big deal, but I guess in theory, what our celestial is doing is against what they should be doing. So it's not like they'd have an army of angels with them. They'd have like 2 or 3, and the demon horde could be coming after them, but that's a
when you just said something, I just clarify what you mean. Why is the celestial, why are they doing something wrong?
Well, one of the things we had talked about previously is that in a previous session is that God, this is not something that God approves of, going down and interfering in mankind, period, the end. They're not supposed to do this. This isn't Legion whereby they've been given the instruction to kill this person. This is this angel taking it upon themselves to say, I'm not going to take the risk.
Okay, so the Antichrist is coming. Gabriel's gone to God and said, hey, the Antichrist is coming. And God's like, you know what? I can't be asked with them anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's versions of God whereby there is none. I mean, whereby like God left a long time ago. I mean, I've seen different versions of fiction where it's like there's no one. They left us with rules. He left us with rules and then took off. In the same way that, like, he left us with the 10 Commandments, and where is he going? And like, there's a version whereby it's not about even going to God, but it's about saying, like, this is against the rules, but I'm doing it anyway. And other angels or other celestials would not approve. Or God may find out and come back, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
I mean, because ultimately, the broader belief would be all of this is God's plan, and you're interfering.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah.
So if God believes that this woman truly is this prophesized bringer of doom, then that would be part of God's plan as well. Depending on your level of belief.
Yeah.
And again, I think we can look. It's an action movie, and it's a popcorn movie, and I don't think we get too deep or heavy.
No, sorry, but again, even in something like Legion, all this is explained. You go, oh, I understand. I understand that was you, and you're on that side, and that's what you've been told to do, and I'm on this side. This is what
I think it's pretty simple to just say, like, you told the demon and the angel have a conversation, and they walk into a bar, and the demon goes,
"Oh, please, we have to have the scene where she recruits him in a bar." An angel and a demon walk into a bar. Boom, done. Fantastic.
Done. So, not what we pitched yesterday, so we'll have to figure that out.
If we did have a bar, what would the bar be called?
Oh, the Dirty Dog, of course.
In every script that has a pub or a bar, we call it the Dirty Dog. It's one of our script in-jokes.
Yeah. So basically what I'm trying to pitch out before being interrupted by Jake. What I'm trying to pitch out is that basically she says, you told me God was on board with this, that the mission that I was on was that God had plans for this woman, and that they were going to grant me mortality and a soul. And now you're telling me they have no idea that you've pulled this all on your own. Like, that creates a really great
absolutely
conflict moment.
Absolutely.
That
this thing, like, it was all a ruse. It was all a ploy. Yes, great. Okay, cool. Let's write some of this down in our document, because otherwise I will instantly forget it the minute this podcast is over.
Which does happen. All right.
So, what were you doing about 5 minutes ago? I don't know, but it was excellent.
All right. We are sharing. Here we go.
Okay.
So we're in Act 1. We talked about this. Let's go quickly just so that we know what we're doing here. And other demons are coming to. Big fun set piece. I think what we were just saying is demon forces forces Sam to come with her,
Yes.
thus creating a conflict-based relationship.
Yep.
Starts. Then,
And also what we
you
said
know,
earlier was that Sam sees that demon is a demon. And
Sam
is
sees
scared by that, you know, and it's freaky.
demon is a demon by, you know, catching a glimpse
Or so, yes, something.
in the mirror or something. Yeah. Doesn't have to be perfect yet.
Yeah.
And then, so 2.1, we're going to be kind of like on the road here. You know, the demons are after us,
as well as the police. Remember that from the other week we were talking about the fact
the police
yes,
who think Sam has been kidnapped,
and she kind of has.
And then there's also a moment, and we said, you know, maybe there's a fun biker gang.
Yes.
Biker gang obstacle or something like that. But eventually they get to Middle East.
And there's going to be a point where Sam is on board with the plan. It can't be the whole time, oh, I'm handcuffed in the back of the car.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I think that probably happens pretty relatively quickly. Like there's got to be the scene.
Demon is going to explain, hey, those things are like the scene
with, you know, where Sam gets the lowdown.
Yeah.
But it's also not the but only what the demon knows.
Oh, absolutely.
And I guess here's a good, okay. So the demon knows what? Just that God has a plan for her?
I think it can be as something as cryptic and grand as that.
And that's why, okay. And I could kind of understand, and so Sam is like, and that's why the demons are after you, and that's why.
Again, it's like, how is this worded? You know, Sam will defeat the Antichrist, like, or something like that. You know,
that's confusing to me.
Yeah, no, I understand the wording.
I prefer at the moment what you're saying, which is a broad, like, you know, God wants her there. She's being requested to go there, but I guess my question, and this is just something to also work out. I understand very cleanly that angels are not allowed on earth in a physical form, thus they cannot interfere in humanity. Demons have broken that rule, take a physical form on earth because they don't give a shit about the rules and interfere with humanity all the time. I get it.
Yeah.
Why is it when our angel tells Charlize, God wants Sam on, you know, Mount Sinai in 2 weeks' time, you know, and why doesn't Charlize go, so why don't you do it? Like, if that's actually God's will, wouldn't he make an exception that you could like come down and like fly her over there?
I think that would be part of the conversation. Is like, you know the rules, you know what he said, and he isn't, you know, I don't think it needs to be an issue. I don't think Sam needs to be suspicious about it because she knows.
Well, my suspicion is if God has this plan, I mean, because here's the thing.
Yeah.
Why does he need me, a demon?
Yes, totally.
That's where my suspicion comes from. So wait a minute. You're saying that God needs me to do this for them? Like, why?
Yeah, and again, I think it just comes up to the whatever, you know, the way that Gabriel is going to explain it in a way that she buys into the idea. You know,
yes, no, I know. That's what I'm.
He has to, yes, like what convincing lie can he make that is
right. And it is a lie, but it has to be enough of a logical lie that Charlize doesn't come across as an idiot.
Yeah,
and all
I'm
along,
not sure what it is yet, but I don't doubt that we can figure it out. I don't doubt that we can figure it out. But yeah, I think that's there has to be a note here that says, what lie does Gabriel, and it's a question, put it as a question in Act 1.
So
what lie does Gabriel tell Demon?
We're not going to probably go with Gabriel, are we?
No, we're not. No, I'm just using it as a placeholder. Yeah. What lie does Celestial tell Demon?
What lie does Celestial tell Charlize?
Charlize. I would totally go with Charlize. It's definitely Charlize.
It's definitely Charlize. All right, Charlize, if you're watching this,
there you go. I'm sure she is.
We've got a movie for you.
In every day.
Tell Charlize about the plan that Charlize buys, and so do we.
Oh, absolutely. At no point do we think he is lying.
He can't.
Yes.
The twist won't work if we, as any kind of suspicion that they're being used.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, it must be. Yes,
the lie. I mean, it's we have to dig in to figure out what that lie is, because think about it. I'm asking you to bring a person there which is so out of the realm of norms, which has never happened before.
Again, I don't know the rules of God in this, and I'm half joking. It's like, we only just found her and we need her on Friday. We can't get permission for an angel to come down because it takes a month to do the paperwork. It's got to be, could it be like some kind of practical thing that's not just God going bing? Like, is there a process whereby it's not as instant as that? I don't know.
I'm going to say maybe.
And do you mean a British maybe or an American?
British maybe.
British maybe. So this is an in-joke between me and Ben. So when an American says maybe, they mean, yeah, maybe. That's an option. Let's keep that on the table. When a British person says maybe, and he's normally saying like maybe, that's how I say it anyway, it just means no.
It just means, it's the polite way of saying
the polite way of saying, that's the worst idea I've ever heard. Let's never speak of this again.
Let's never speak of this again. Moving on.
Okay, bad idea. But can there be, like, again, it's what you were saying. It can't be as easy as God just going, go on next, Gabriel. It just can't be. There needs to be.
And the thing is, if there's any sort of biblical ideas that are being relatively utilized, regardless of religion, whether it's Islam, Judaism, or Christianity, God has, with really important things, communicated with humanity, right? There have been moments.
Via angels, yes.
Well, not always. I mean, not in Judaism.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
The burning bush, whatever it is, there is there might be angels in Judaism to a certain degree, but honestly, I'm not very versed in my own.
As we've discussed in the past, you're the worst Jew ever.
Kind of the worst Jew ever. Not actually, though. I do know I was bar mitzvahed, okay, but I actually don't remember a lot. So the point being, though, is that there has to be a reason that we, as the audience, and most importantly, Charlize, go, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And we just let it go.
Yes.
And then the mission is the mission. And we don't even think about the Celestials from that point.
They're going to discover, holy shit, you were lying at some point.
Exactly. And that's going to be a hard thing to crack because it needs to be believable to everyone. And Charlize has got to be smart. Charlize is not a dumb demon. She's a smart demon who escaped hell and has been living in a cabin in the woods for 100 years.
With a dog.
She's not one to be duped.
No.
So the fact that she does get duped is a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
And we have to believe, as much as she believes, that holy shit, I never would have in a million years thought that the angels would be using me to kill a human.
Right.
That's like not what happens.
Yeah.
So keeping that in the back of our of our creative mind. We need to
Mm-hmm.
think about that. That's a big idea that we need to land on.
Yeah.
But just continuing to go through this kind of midpoint, what we're saying at the moment is midpoint is going to be we learn of the double cross.
Yes.
And now both celestials and demons are after us because Charlize isn't going.
Yeah. Now, again, I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to ask a character question.
Yeah.
So I learn at the midpoint that there's a double cross.
Yeah.
I've been led to believe that if I go and do this thing, well, that's different. At this point, I understand that you are actually the Antichrist. I think that's the first part of it.
I understand that they believe she's the Antichrist.
Sure. Okay. But yeah. I mean,
there's no proof because it's not like she has superpowers. I don't know for certain. And I think that's the point of the movie, isn't it? That she's going to ultimately have the choice to not be the Antichrist.
Yes. But again, it's like who has what knowledge? At the end of the day, yes, they believe that she's that she has the potential to become the Antichrist. And Charlize picks apart that language and says, yes, the potential to become the Antichrist. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to become the Antichrist.
Correct.
Like our future isn't set. Yes.
Correct.
So, but does she learn at that point that even God couldn't give her a soul? Because I guess my question is, at that point, what does she think the best thing for Sam is if it happens at the midpoint? Because she's going to go, oh, okay, the demons over here want to protect her. But she's going to become the Antichrist. Now, I have been a demon. I am a demon. That was my belief. I did revel in that. But something has changed in me whereby I don't want that anymore.
And I don't want her to ultimately be part of that world, part of the underworld.
Okay. Let's just drill down a little bit onto ultimately Charlize, and I think this must be true, that if either side gets what they want, it's bad for Sam.
Yes, that is true.
I think that has to be at the core of it, because let's say that what the Antichrist is a vessel for something really bad and really evil. You know, that you would become the vessel of Satan, whatever that might be. And that it's not going to be just her being there. She's going to her life will be over and she'll become the mortal vessel on earth for the Prince of Darkness. Or if you go over there.
No, it needs to be bad. Yes. It will establish that the demons getting Sam to Charlize and also to Sam.
And to Sam.
Is definitely just as bad as dying.
Absolutely right. Yeah. And so in one sense, yes, the demons are trying to capture her, but so that she can become the vessel for the Prince of Darkness. Yeah, essentially.
Totally.
Yes. So
Sam as we know it will no longer be there.
Right. So at the midpoint, what becomes the mission?
Well, so here's a question, and I don't know, it might be interesting, is when the demon learns that when Charlize learns she's been betrayed, we've only had her and Sam together for about 30 minutes at this point. Mm-hmm. Does the demon go, fuck this shit, I'm out? And does Sam take the agency that she's never had in her life to go and get the demon to help protect her in some way?
I just feel like it's, and my instinct is saying that it's too early at the midpoint to have this reveal happen. And again, born out of what you're saying about character, it's like I feel that later on in the movie, towards the end of Act 2, beginning of Act 3, I would buy and believe that Sam is capable of that. But at the midpoint, I'm going, then what is your arc? What is your journey? What do you have left to accomplish if you're doing that at the midpoint?
Well, that's not necessarily true. When I went through all of the Terminator stuff, she does small things all the way across. It doesn't. That feels not like the very first time she has agency is the end of her arc. Even when she does her first Field dressing is a moment, and it's way earlier. It's nowhere near the darkest moment.
But it is in 2.2.
Uh,
Field dressing and making of, and again, she's acting.
No, the field dressing happens before the making of ammunition. They're under the bridge.
But it's post. Is it under the bridge?
They're under the bridge when she's doing that. They've like gone into like they're not in the motel when she's
But point being,
the point being is that there are small changes, and that she should be making small changes.
But this feels like an arc
that's just one scene, and all of a sudden.
Oh no, I agree. But this feels like a very big change. She's on her own. She goes to go and get her. Feels like I'm doing this big thing about saving my life. I don't know.
Why can't it be? I can't. But hold on a second. Why can't the idea be that I can't do this on my own? I need you. I'm not enough.
But that's the question. Do what? Doing what?
Survive, find a new life, get out of here.
Survival. At that point, So I've got to. But again, it's somewhat tricky, isn't it? Because again, in Terminator, I go, if you were off the grid and you could be away, and the Terminator were still out there, yes, they would still be out there, but you'd be off the grid in a way. Ultimately, we decide we have to kill the Terminator. With this, I'm not going to be defeating all of the angels and all of the demons.
But we're not creating a world whereby they have a magic crystal ball and could just find Sam like that either. So being off the grid is exactly what I think that they could, in theory, do. I mean, there's a reason that our demon has been able to live in a cabin in the woods, and the other demons from hell haven't found her. Or that, I think we've talked about this before. It's like it gives omniscience to just be able to look down from heaven and see everybody and hear everything and know everything that everybody's thinking.
And at the beginning, like we said, they don't know where Sam is. It's only when certain things have started to appear.
Exactly. Sure. So I think that the idea is, help me. And maybe that's a conversation. What could I possibly do for you? And her say, well, I'll start over. But I can't do this by myself. I can't protect. I'm not a demon. I don't have powers. If they show up, whatever. And this is only in the version whereby the demon abandons her, which is not necessarily the only way to go.
It's ultimately the question is at the midpoint, when they discover this new information, how does that alter their course of actions?
Right. Because we've got to have a new turn in the story, and ultimately that turn in the story is going to cause the Celestials to have to get involved in a way they never thought they would, because now they're going to have to take physical form on Earth, which is really breaking even more rules than they were even trying to do in the first place.
Yeah, and there must be a reason why at the end they can do that, but they couldn't at the beginning. The paperwork's finally been done. Again, it works.
I don't think it's about can't. I think it's about again, like what they're allowed to do, and getting caught would have repercussions. And then how far are they willing to go? It's funny. It's like watching a CIA spy movie, and it's like, at first we only get involved this much, but as shit goes down more and more and more, we're going to risk getting caught because the ends justify the means.
Yeah, it's a tough line to walk, isn't it? Because earlier on we were just kind of saying, if this person is the Antichrist, or has the potential to be the Antichrist, however we want to word it, why isn't God involved? And I liked what you were saying earlier. He's not been paying interest, but maybe this divine entity does start to pay interest in this part of the movie.
I mean,
maybe.
My personal preference is divine entity is not.
That's fine, but again, though, it just comes down to this aspect. Then, if it is like the CIA, what rules
because we don't know. Imagine
break them.
Imagine the celestial realm is the fucking CIA, and our person is a rogue agent. there are bosses, there are other people who could strip them of their wings. There are consequences for the actions. It doesn't have to be God. We don't have to have like this person doesn't need to be God's right-hand man. This person can be like, Special Agent so-and-so who is working for a rogue group who thinks that they know best.
Who thinks they found evidence that this person is the
this is a prophecy a lot of people don't even believe, but they believe because of X, Y, and Z, and we can actually create a kind of a fun backstory for this person. And in the end, part of the way that they lose is that maybe we even get their superiors who come and strip that person of their wings, sending them to hell, as we've talked in the same way, in a Lucifer fashion.
Put that in the document here. Act 3, the villain angel, the villain celestial, however you want to call them.
Faces the consequences.
Yeah,
their actions. The angel boss
comes down and rips him a new one.
Yeah, rips him a new one, takes his wings, and sends him to hell. Something like that.
Something like that. So again, I will say elements of Legion. In this particular version, you've got Michael, who is the angel who is going against God's will, and Gabriel, who is there to enact God's will.
Sure.
And ultimately, Gabriel kills Michael, and then Michael comes back because he's been sent back by God because he's done something good, and hurts Gabriel, but doesn't kill him because he's displaying mercy, which is something that Gabriel didn't display. So there's similar things. Just being aware of.
I hear it, but we're really just talking about the final moment. We're not talking about it's not a massive plot element. The plot element that exists, we would discover through our celestial. In fact, it gives us a great way to have a villain that's more active, because in 2.2, our celestial and his followers, whatever they are, imagine them like Zod and his gang. That's what I'm thinking, right? Our celestial is Zod, and he's got his two celestial fucking badasses, and in 2.2 we get to know more about the fact that they are essentially a group of defectors against the rules, that they are followers of a certain belief. And actually it kind of sets it up for a sequel as well, if we kind of build out this mythology, because that means that there are other people who maybe are still up in the heaven realm that could have the same belief and could in theory come after Sam at some point in the future as well.
Sounds good. So we're rapidly approaching the hour mark here.
We are. Sometimes I feel like I just want to keep going.
I know.
You get on this roll. And this is the thing, everybody watching, Jake and I normally, our normal work schedule is 9 to 5 religiously, 5 days a week. And so when we get on a roll like this, we'll keep doing exactly this for 6 hours.
Oh, absolutely.
In one day. And it's so hard with this format to only do 1 hour on this script, because we really do want this to all be live and unedited and unfiltered and have this experience. But I'm like, no, I want to spend all afternoon working on this project.
It's good that we want to do that, though, isn't it? Because it means that the motor's running. But I think we should wrap up now, because
we should. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Share this with people on Twitter and everywhere else. It's so much fun to have people here and participating and watching. And of course, we always would love your comments and feedback and even questions.
Yes. Reach out to us. You can reach out to us on Twitter. I'm at Jake Thornton. Ben is at Ben
underscore Lustig. Yes. Ben Lustig was taken already.
And that's right. And you can also find our Facebook page at facebook.com/Lustig Thornton, where you can also find other news and updates on various things that we are working on. So, Ben,
great. Awesome. We'll see everyone tomorrow at 11 a.m.
11 a.m. Yes, yeah,
All right.
Bye.